Once considered a pipe dream, pun intended, electric vehicles, or EVs, are poised for mainstream adoption, and there are a few key indicators that back this up.
For instance, in July 2022, more than 5% of all new car sales in the United States were electric vehicles.
And while this may not seem like a lot, it represents what's known as a tipping point to mass adoption. According to analysts, EV sales are now expected to rapidly increase over the coming months and years.
The second indicator is a more obvious one, and that's the investment from automakers in EV production.
This is also where Barton Malow enters the picture.
Utilizing goats to clear vegetation on a steep hillside to save on manpower and ensure safety. We've done that. Watching a world-renowned architect crumble up a piece of paper and tell you that's how they want their building to be designed? We've been there, too. Ever envision a bricklaying robot or material lift unit assisting laborers with building? No, it's not something out of the Terminator. We've done that on our projects. Every project has a great story. With over 3,000 team members and nearly 100 years of experience in the construction industry, we at Barton Malow have more than a few to tell that don't fit the usual industry coverage. I'm Eric Fish.
And I'm Rob Riley.
And we're both Barton Malow team members and the hosts of this podcast. And we're going to be bringing you the untold stories from the job site. The weird, the wild, and the unconventional paths to success. It's construction, but it's said differently. In late 2019, Barton Malow was awarded and began work on its first lithium-ion battery cell manufacturing plant. From then to now, we've emerged as the world leader in battery cell manufacturing facilities.
At the time of this record, we're currently actively building battery cell plants in Tennessee, Kentucky, Michigan, and Ontario, Canada.
Throughout this episode, you'll hear references to Ultium 1, 2, and 3. Please note that Ultium 1 refers to Ultium cells in Lordstown, Ohio, 2 to Ultium cells in Spring Hill, Tennessee, and 3 to Ultium cells in Lansing, Michigan.
To discuss more about Barton Malow's entry into the market and how we've become a world leader in battery work in less than 4 years' time, we're pleased to be joined in studio by Barton Malow Company Senior Project Director, Alan Blanchette.
Let's just start by, if you could sort of introduce yourself and talk about your experience and projects you've worked on with Barton Malow.
Okay, so hey, my name is Alan Blanchette. I'm a Senior Project Director. Been with Barton Malow many years, adding them all up, probably close to 30, but consistency, I just going to have my 20 year this year of 2023. Started out in self-perform as an apprentice carpenter. Believe it or not, Chuck Binkowski is my claim to fame. As Chuck Binkowski, our COO, was actually the first person I worked with Barton Malow when I was an apprentice. So I said, worked various projects through the self-perform side. Worked myself up to superintendent, running jobs through self-perform. And then Barton Malow started a civil division. I believe our first really big job was the Fort Wayne wastewater treatment plant. I moved on to the automotive scene where I met Bruce Reistack and the team down at General Motors Toledo, the 6-speed rear-wheel drive transmission project. That was the second phase of the IPD Light, where Barton Malow started the IPD Light construction, design, build, assist, teed off of the Flint high-feature V6. We went to Toledo, and then everything just accelerated from there with General Motors with myself. Working with Bruce through GM Saginaw, General Motors Toledo, Spring Hill, the M5 program, all 4 projects, including Silao, Mexico, which spun off to SLP Mexico, which spun off again to additional projects in Toledo. And then, of course, the big Ultium in 2019. So kind of my way through the automotive to where I am to make it up to Senior Project Director today.
I mean, did you ever think in those early days of working on these automotive projects that you'd eventually be building these massive battery plants?
Honestly, no. Back in the days in self-perform, we worked on 5 to 6, $3 to $5 million projects a month. Getting more up into the automotive end, you were doing 35 to 40 $50 million projects a year. To get handed the square footage of 2.5 million square feet plus mega project, it was overwhelming at first. I will admit that. But again, Barton Malow, we assembled a great team through our IPD process with our AEs, with our design partners or trade partners, as they're called in IPD. And everything just clicked and came together, where one mega project led to a second mega project, led to a third, and just continues to this day. Then again, we're still getting the other projects as well. So there's a nice mix that we have going right now within the company on the automotive side, and it's very rewarding. Keeps me busy, keeps me out of trouble.
So what was it with the intimidation factor? Was it the sheer size and scale of these projects? Was it like a bit of the unknown going into EV like this, a combination of both?
Yes, it was a combination of both. The unknown with EV, I mean, I don't know how many nights I spent on Google search and researching cathode active material, and anode active material, and everything else, researching LG and their process in South Korea. That was the unknown. Was also as we were dealing with a vendor that we've never dealt with before, a partner that was overseas, 12-hour time change, countless meetings starting at 7 at night, which is 7 in the morning in South Korea, going to midnight. That was every Tuesday and Thursday. Many of us were on those meetings. And then the scale of the project, size-wise, really didn't intimidate. It was more the financial side. It's how do you track a project? That's spending, roughly $10+ million a month. That was phenomenal. Some of our self-performed payroll periods were just astronomical on what our payroll was.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, at the same time, I feel like there's got to be, like a point of pride among the team, among yourself, of embarking on something like this, which is clearly where all the automakers are investing their future.
Yes, it is pride. And it's also the pride of us being the first to the market. I mean, we pride ourselves with how we do construction, how we drive construction through self-perform. Our speed to market is second to none. Our safety, quality, productivity, in my thoughts, are second to none. So, yeah, I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of the teams. In self-perform, in my previous roles, I built buildings. I always introduce people as I'm a builder. Now I consider myself building high-performance teams that build high-performing buildings. And I'm very proud of the teams. I'm honored to be part of the team. I don't really like to take a lot of credit, so I'll be kind of humble and shut up about that. I couldn't be more proud of all the automotive side, and as well as bringing our equipment side in as well, because with a lot of the automotive, we do the equipment set. Again, they're rocking it, and together we make up Barton Malow Company.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, I think the speed is one of the craziest things about these projects. I mean, yes. Just the level of coordination and people being on the same page and adhering to that schedule. I mean, what factors do you think have to be in order for, the speed aspect and in order to stay and meet those milestones?
So design is the first. So we look to it. We use 3D modeling for the design. In a battery facility, everything is installed in layers. So you start at the top and you work your way down. So, it starts out basic core and shell, we call it, which, we erect the building, we enclose the building, we get it dried in, we get our floors and our second floor slab on metal deck poured. And then from there, it's fire protection, HVAC, mechanical piping, electrical work. Again, it's in various levels. You could have a level of each, and then you could start all over again with a second layer, depending if it's a plenum ceiling or the area you're working in, whether it's a clean, dry room, low humidity rooms. And the challenge is getting everything to fit, and the stacking of trades, as we call it. So each site we started out, and it's further down here, it's called a rainbow drawing, and don't really know. The name came basically, I believe, because of all the colors we had to use. I think we used every color on the highlighting that's offered. So we have everything from orange to red to blue to yellow to green for certain areas of the project as you work your way from mixer to coder to assembly to formation to shipping. So it's a rainbow drawing. It's updated It's a really cool tool that we use. I believe Ultium 1, it started there. It evolved on Ultium 2. It's further evolved on Ultium 3. And I'm sure this is going to continue to evolve. And everybody uses it. Our 3D team uses it. Our 3D VDC team as well. It's a great tool. It gives a great visual aid to put up on the wall as well. Makes a very good lean tool as well. So that's the key to this whole program, I believe, is the 3D modeling. I've never signed so many requests for computer upgrades. All our supervision, the general superintendents and superintendents report to me. Everyone has a VDC computer now. Myself, a lot of my team members also have iPads that we carry around. I actually walk around with the model in lieu of carrying a big spool of drawings. Again, we're trying to be lean. We're trying not to burn a bunch of paper up, but the model is the key to these programs and gives you a visual and everybody can see it. It's a great tool that we use in pole planning. Our last planner system, we do pole planning. We do 3-week look-aheads. The model is used every one of those meetings. It is the tool that we build to today.
I feel like we posted a picture of blue steel or blue spray painted steel a couple of years ago on our social channels and said, any idea what's going on down here at Ultium in Tennessee? And we got a lot of funny answers, and we obviously told them the right answer at the end. But what is so important about this blue steel and the intumescent paint?
Due to the chemical composition or the quantity of chemicals, materials to make batteries that are stored in a building, certain parts of the battery facility are high hazard, whether that be an H4 and H2, depending on the jurisdiction having authority, the building department. Again, the International Building Code, the IBC, really does not address battery production as it is today. The code is evolving as probably we speak for this podcast. So the intumescent paint in the high hazard areas, due to the volume of hazardous materials, you have to protect the building if there is a high heat intense fire. So basically we worked with Sherwin-Williams, no name dropping because there are others, Carbolide, Pittsburgh Paint. But we worked with them and developed a painting sequence that for speed to market, we actually applied the intumescent paint at our fabricators' paint shops before it came to the site, masking off the connection areas, which would be touched up later. Again, it was an idea. It just blossomed. Many people contributed to the success of it, from the manufacturer of the paint to the fabricator to the painters at the fabricators' paint shops, to the touch-up painters on site, to our own self-perform erection crew erecting the steel. It was a win-win. We picked up 6 months at least in schedule time, and costs dramatically decreased from original. At Ultium 1, we had half the steel intumescent painted in the shop. Ultium 2, we had it all painted in the shop. Ultium 3, it's all painted in the shop, and we've improved every time through lessons learned. It's just been a win-win on every front. And then it's also gone off in some of our other projects besides the Ultium. I believe the Bosch program's doing it as well. And then some of our other battery facilities, the Wallace Battery Lab and Warren, Michigan, as well as that. So it was a great innovative idea, so to speak, and we just took it to the next level.
It's very interesting. And, I think it aligns with sort of Barton Malow Company's goals and initiatives of, team first, teamwork, and, just not being afraid to adopt some of these new technologies and innovations to streamline projects and try new things. Are there any other aspects of these projects that you can take to other industries, to other projects?
Yeah, sure. So a lot is to do, everybody says, hey, a clean room and a dry room, are they the same thing? They have certain aspects that they share. A dry room is more controlled by humidity requirements, whether it's a 1%, a less than 10%, a 35%. Again, with our client, we're getting into hydrogen. We just got a project that'll be starting very soon, which we're going to be doing hydrogen, which you're going to have the ink and coating rooms, which are basically clean rooms without the humidity requirements. So they do meet the Div 8 and the Div 10 ISO measures for cleanliness, as well as for ventilation, but they don't have the 1% or 10% or 35% humidity requirements. So a lot of the clean room stuff does tie into other areas that we do. We have done certain projects in the past in transmission and automotive that have clean rooms for the final assembly of the transmissions. It's just a factor that, you can't have people's hair follicles or something falling into a transmission casing. Kind of messes it up. But yeah, so it does fall into a lot of that. And I'm sure I've not done a lot of healthcare, but I imagine it's kind of like building an operating room. And I know in healthcare, that's pretty cool. Some of the things that they do with surgical rooms, and then the components that bring the process air, the oxygen, the electrical, mechanical feeds, how the cleanliness that they have to have. And then you wouldn't think of that in the automotive market. But when you're building batteries, you need the same type of cleanliness, not only in your rooms, but in your mechanical systems as well.
Are these standards still like sort of being developed as the industry evolves in this manner?
Correct. The protocol, as we call it, is still being developed. It's still being lesson learned from Altium. So we work with Hofe Engineering on the Altium programs for our clean room consultant, and their protocol for everything from how you have to gown up to put the booties on, to the steps of construction, to the airlocks, wiping down materials and equipment before they come in. Every job, it seems to be getting more and more dialed in and precise. At Altium 1, we did things 2-3 times at times. At Altium 2, we got it down to maybe we do it once or twice. At Altium 3, I think it's going to be almost seamless like clockwork. And those protocols, again, a valuable lesson learned, not only in the battery, but it also ties into all of our construction.
So one last question, and just kind of a fun one to leave things on a light note, but the Altium projects have been on the receiving end of some notable visitors, we should say, and it seems like you're always popping up in the press clippings. How much ribbing do you take on site from the guys for always having your face on the news and in the paper when these visitors come around?
I don't know how it really happens, but I must be a camera magnet. So from the Secretary of Treasury to the Secretary of Labor to a lot of the big GM, Mary Barr herself coming out, getting a picture with her. I don't know how it happens, but it happens. I am a shy person. I should say that and laugh, but it is phenomenal. I do get ribbed on the job site all the time. I got a few thank you notes on my desk, and it is cool to meet executives like that. But again, they're there for the whole team. I'm just a member of the team, but it is cool when you are recognized. So a lot of fun.
Yeah, good stuff.
Building a battery plant is no small feat. Built on hundreds of acres of land and encompassing millions of square feet, the sheer size and scope of work is much more significant than your typical automotive project. But there's more than size that separates these EV battery projects from others. And to discuss more of the specifics, we're excited to be joined in studio by another Barton Malow Company Senior Project Director, Chris Hofe.
Good morning. My name is Chris Hofe. I'm a project director for Barton Malow Company, which basically equates to running projects for execution. I just celebrated my 25-year anniversary actually last June, so that was a huge milestone for me. And again, I feel very blessed to be here for that many years with this many opportunities. I've had the opportunity to work in healthcare and energy and industrial, and recently that translates to working on a series of our battery EV projects for several different clients. So I started with Barton Malow Company, just under 26 years ago, right out of Penn State. So that job was actually for the Shriners Hospital for Children and Temple University Hospital in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Wonderful project, wonderful people, wonderful owners, and a wonderful mission. That led to basically being on the road. I'm not a Michigan guy. We're a transplant, and we've had the opportunity to bounce around to a lot of different wonderful places, and honestly, a lot of different delivery methods in different markets. So as I said, I spent about 8 years in the healthcare market, which translated into actually was able to work with Columbia St. Mary's, was introduced to our self-performed building trades. And that was a really a big milestone in my career. And I've honestly never looked back. From Columbia St. Mary's, actually came to Severstal. And from there, I've really never looked back and spent energy and industrial.
So it sounds like you really found your sweet spot in the real heavy industrial projects. Can you talk about your involvement in the one of the first major programs, I'll call it, that we had with one of the big three automotive suppliers?
Yeah, absolutely. I did have an opportunity to take a little visit down to Texas for about 2.5, 3 years, and was able to participate on the, like you said, the M5 program or the T1 launch. Basically, one of four major building programs for General Motors and expansion. That job was particularly challenging due to logistics. We basically had to gut and relocate almost every major service or utility to that plant before we could make the space basically to have the expansion for that T1 program. But again, being blessed with a lot of builders, fantastic project and a great introduction into basically the automotive world. And for all intents and purposes, that was my first major automotive project. So just a completely different world, which leads us to the battery EV. And, if you kind of close your eyes for a second and just imagine, some of these buildings you've seen either in our updates or on the news, you're going to see several millions of square feet just based on the scale of production that's needed to run these batteries, regardless of the chemistry or technology. So, that's going to look like this big white or light building with the EPDM roof, somewhere between 1 and 2 stories or a combination. The insulated metal panel siding is readily available, and also it's insulated and it has the clean room properties for the backside, so it works very well. So they're going to look a lot like an automotive plant. It's going to be a very, very big building, maybe columns on 40 or 50 foot centers. You're going to have a lot of outbuildings with that too, like you normally would. You have to have power. You have a switch yard, switch house. You may have wastewater treatment plant. A lot of these from the air are going to look a lot like other plants. However, you're going to start noticing differences, say outside the plant. You've got to have solvent recovery, right? So you'll have that process equipment in a building, and you'll see basically the distillation columns, right? Small distillation columns. You've got to have an air house for compressed air, which is not totally unusual. You've got to have a yard for the electrolyte distribution, right? Which obviously you get to make these batteries, and most chemistries, you need electrolytes. So you're going to start to notice a lot of differences outside of the building. Where it really becomes challenging is obviously the inside. So mechanically on a building, on an auto plant or most of our industrial projects, you'll have air handling, air supply, a couple air handling units. Due to the size of these, we've obviously got a lot more, but the magic is in what they call a desiccant unit. And so that's a very, very large air handler unit, but it has the ability to basically reheat, cool, and extract huge volumes of moisture out of the air through a desiccant wheel. So it's very, very energy intensive. You can have, again, depending on the chemistry, the plant size, 50, 60, 70 of these absolutely, huge units. And it's very energy intensive. There's a lot of power required, obviously, to run those units if you're stripping all kinds of moisture out of the air, as well as to run that amount of chilled water through the plant. It also becomes apparent that it's different when you look at the spaces on the inside. It's basically a lot of layers and a lot of coordination is how I would explain it. You've got specialty ceilings, insulated metal panels, and a lot of the rooms, depending on the process, you'll have a ceiling above the ceiling, creating a plenum. You'll have epoxy flooring, and again, due to the dry requirements, that's going to have to be a special epoxy system, right? You need to have what they call it's static dissipating. Obviously for the static electricity, it does super, super low relative humidities. And they'll just be vast, vast spaces for the process equipment as well. If you look at any stock photo of a clean dry room, you're going to notice this giant, cleanable, shiny, bright, empty space, right? At least empty until you put the process equipment into it. So there's a lot of similarities, but again, it gets very energy intensive and very dense with equipment as soon as you step foot into the door.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that we're building the factories where these electric vehicle bodies are being created, when in fact we're building the factories where the battery is being manufactured. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And there may be plants to where that's the case. They may have a manufacturing component to where they ship a battery cell or a pack out the door and it becomes part of their general assembly. For the most part, yeah, they're completely disconnected facilities.
So how many of these projects have you, I guess, been on since we started like the whole battery, initiative, I guess?
My sole baby was Ultium. A lot of people, and there's Ultium 2 and Ultium 3. I call it Ultium instead of Ultium 1. I just refer to, Van Halen's first album was Van Halen, not Van Halen 1. Led Zeppelin 2, right? You get it. But no, we kind of broke the mold and unfortunately made a lot of the mistakes so that we did not have to repeat those on U2 and U3 and these other going forward. But as far as an execution capacity, really just my primary involvement is on U1. Of course, being involved with if it's validation or lessons learned for U2 and U3.
So like when you found out you were going to be doing U1, like what is your reaction going into sort of uncharted territory to a certain aspect of that?
Oh, it's everywhere between flattering to nerve wracking. I mean, if you're not nervous about an opportunity like that, then you're just, I don't know, maybe just not paying attention. But you have to, like any mega project, which I'm glad you said that, which is another commonality of the battery plants just due to scale. They're huge projects. We're talking in billions. But you just have to have a solid plan, a solid team, solid execution plan, right? And a lot of that, luckily, is vetted out through on the IFOA or IPD delivery method anyhow. It's vetted out through validation, right? But yeah, I mean, honestly, you just have to, it's how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time?
Chris, what about back to the equipment install stuff? Can you just talk about like how our self-performed trades functioned on Ultium and like which trades we did and I guess the benefit of having us? I know we hear about benefits all the time, but can you just talk about the benefits of Barton Malow self-performing different scopes out there?
Oh, absolutely. So we were able to perform all of our civil operations, the concrete, structural steel, and a piece of the interiors.
I guess backing up even one step further, what have you heard maybe from like owners, reps, or the people that you're going back and forth with as you're building these things, Chris? Like what's the big push or what's the switch for EV? Like what's their reasoning? Or do you hear any of that from them? Like what's the end goal or why are they going this route and why all of a sudden now, like after, Tesla's been around for a minute, they've got Rivian and stuff like that, but it seems like the big three, right, between Ford, General Motors, Chrysler, they're all kind of neck and neck right now and going all in on this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And part of that is I have to believe is based on doing the right thing, right? This is the way we're going to go to, rid ourselves of the fossil fuels as much as possible. Part of it, again, is money. It's market driven, right? If you look at the EV adoption rate, I think it's hitting faster than most people imagine, regardless of, and there's obviously concerns with infrastructure, charging stations, right? The capacity to hold that. But yeah, it's definitely crazy with the inception rate. And at night, it has nothing to do with the projects, but all go back and forth and see like who's going to lead. And you look at the projection rates and it's scary. There's a lot of pressure on which, hey, honestly, for us as a business, as a project, we feel that, right? We can understand that technology changes every 6 months, every year. OEM equipment changes. There's obviously logistics problems. We just came out of the pandemic, but unfortunately, and again, as good project managers, we need to protect our budgets. We need to protect our schedules, but there's not a lot of breathing room on these things. Just the pressure for companies to get these things in their cars and to market is just, it's unbelievable.
There was a very short time frame between the time when we were awarded the first big battery plant and the time where ground was broken on it. How does the scheduling play a role in how these things come together?
No, absolutely. And I think it really ties nicely together too, because it's that's all part and parcel of the delivery method. Now, look, because of our long storied relationship with General Motors and our, history of executing their projects very successfully, we got a chance to compete, to be clear, right before Thanksgiving of 2019. So we were awarded the project through a validation. Mobilized about 50 people going through our validation and basically starting from scratch. We didn't want it to be a typical LG project. We didn't want to be a typical GM project. So, we set our conditions of satisfactions and kind of went through there working around a budget, obviously. We executed the IFOA really about 3 months after we had even mobilized on site for site grubbing and clearing. But so we executed an IFOA, an integrated form of agreement, right? It's an IPD, integrated project delivery. So it's basically a consensus document, and we kind of tweak the rules. So long story short, it's an open book, collaborative project delivery where Barton Malow acts as the constructor. Gresham Smith was the designer, and we selected trade partners. And the way that works, each one of those entities shares the risk with the other entities, right? And it's all open book. All the billings are open book, and any of the oopsies come out of the risk pool. And then if we do better, there's shared savings. So think of it as if I go out on a project and I go over my certain tasks that we've agreed that I'm going to do as Barton Malow company. If I go over that by $1, right? That comes 40 cents of that comes out of my pocket, 20 cents comes out of someone else's, 15 out of someone else's. And then likewise, there's a point to where if we do something innovative and we meet a goal, there's shared savings too. So it was definitely very unique. Definitely some lessons learned.
I mean, hey, dude, I think we've covered a lot of ground. Any closing thoughts or remarks on maybe like what the future holds or anything else in this market?
Yeah, absolutely. I just think it's fascinating that to go back to the beginning and talk about, being tapped to be on a team for this battery plant in Lordstown with this joint venture has become kind of, I would say the norm, but just how a project of that scope and scale has basically just become, been there, done that. So 2022.
Hey, I think we're good, Hofe. I appreciate you coming in.
Oh, anytime, man.
That's all for this episode of Said Differently. Thanks to Alan and Chris for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and rate us. And be sure to check out our sister podcast series, Said Differently Beyond the Build. We'll catch you back soon for more of the stories from the job site.
This is Said Differently, a Barton Malow podcast. For more information on Barton Malow's automotive portfolio, visit bartonmalow.com/markets/automotive. This is Said Differently.